And finally, we're at the last video, which is the final video, which makes it finally. We got there, and all we've got to do now is do two last little tidy up bits. If you remember with session 11, we were able to log in, make the system work, so we can use the test user, we can type in password, we log in, and it logs us in, and we can log out. When we log in or out, we can still see add and delete, and that's the part that we're going to solve with the final. Notice no add contact, no edit, no delete, but once I log in, test user, password, log in, and now I can see add, edit and delete. When I log out again, obviously they disappear. So let's have a look at where we were originally. These two parts actually do not relate to the index page. So let's go and have a look at session 11. They do not relate to here. These two deal with the main document page. If you remember, that main, and the top part is the nav part, which is here. So the two pages we're interested in is main and nav. These two are session 11. We can see the whole. Let's deal with main first. That's the edit and delete part. We can see here all 30 lines to deal with this, and here down here is the edit delete lines that we're interested in. Everything else can remain the same, but it's these two. We only want these visible when someone is actively logged in. And the question is, what tells us when someone is logged in? Well, the answer is pretty obvious actually. It's if we've got the $name set. And when was the $name set? Well, if you remember, we set that. If we go back into our index, we remember that we set the $name when we successfully logged in. So right down the bottom here, $name is equal to the $session user. And because this is included, because main is included into this index, which is further down here, because it's included, the local variables defined within index are accessible to the main. If we were going to a separate page, be aware that local variables do not transfer. So if I clicked on this and it took me to main, then it would not transfer. But because main is included in the index, all of the local variables are freely available to main. And that's a really key point here, because that's when we go from here to here. And the only change here is that I've done if the $name is set, then you can display edit delete. Notice that I have down here else only display the details. Do not bother about the edit and delete. So these two lines are the difference. I could have put this elsewhere. I could have had this line separate, but quite simply it didn't make much difference for me to repeat it, and it actually became important for the spacing of the total number of contacts. The only difference between these two lines is purely the spacing of the characters. This has 6 columns to make up for the fact of the edit and contact. This has 4. That's why these two lines are very slightly, subtly different. It's in length. This only has 4 columns, and this one will have 6 columns. Just be aware of that so that you don't make the mistake thinking otherwise. In fact, looking at that, I think I've actually still got no, that's fine. I think we can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So actually I haven't altered it in this case at all. So that those two are blank, and I could have remained that. Anyway, it's neither here nor there. There are better ways sometimes of doing pages, and when you come to look at them again, you start to say, okay, did I need to do that? But I did need to do that here because these two rows are added on top. Okay, so pause this, you can put that code in, and all this does is say if that's set, then execute these. Notice, by the way, that this had to be outside separate line because this is part of the loop here. So no matter how I did this, I would still have to have a line outside because of this loop here. Do be aware of that part. That then gives us our edit delete. Simple command here, this simple use of a variable gives us our ability to include, edit or delete, or not include them. The next part is the nav bar. The nav bar is this part up here, view, add contacts. We can see, I'm just going to close down session 11 so we can see that we don't have the add contacts when we're not logged in. There's the instructions. This one just lists up view contacts and add contact, and obviously this is part of the include statement here. So just as with the other one, we can use the $name as item in case we want view contacts to be available, so that's fine. But we've gotten if is set name, then show add contact, and if it's not set, simply doesn't show that line. That line does not get executed. Do notice, by the way, again, I have ended the PHP, restarted the PHP, and sent that as HTML. There are people who will argue that might be a bit slower than echoing it. I believe it's faster, but the difference, again, there's no PHP, there's no need to send this through the process of the PHP. Therefore, I see no point in doing so. So the only difference there is I have included these two lines here. They actually shouldn't be there. They're ghosts of the way I used to do this page. If I have a look at the nav, they're actually there. So I've actually still got them there. They're remnants, and what I can do is I could kill those here, and that wouldn't make any difference. It's only when you're constructing these you make changes, and sometimes those changes don't flow through every example. So that's it for the nav.php. That's it for the main. That's it for the entire system. Our contact system works. I've shown you can log in. I've shown you can log out. I've shown you that you can trap that and say, oh no, you haven't logged in, or it's an unsuccessful one. I've shown you how to do the add contact, the edit, the delete, how to total up the number of contacts using the counting of the number of rows, and everything else. That's the contact book, very simple system, and a number of videos to do that, but hopefully that's been incredibly useful. I hope it has. Let me know. Thank you very much, and goodbye.